Hey, good afternoon. What's going on, everybody? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hey, we are back in the building today. Man, I'm so happy. I'm so happy today, man. Hey, episode 43. We've been doing this thing for a long time, and I'm just glad and grateful that we're continuing this thing on. And not only that, I'm grateful that we're continuing it on. I'm just happy that not only we've been able to continue, but I'm just happy that of the feedback and everything, and how everybody been saying things been relevant, because that's really been the heart of it. I will tell you, the whole purpose behind the conversation is the vision was to start a platform to talk about real things that people go through, real things that people deal with that they usually don't talk about, and really hit it from a Christian perspective. Not only just a Christian perspective, but from a mature perspective, an analytical perspective, and a logical perspective. I'm just excited tonight. I'm doing what I usually do. I'm sharing this, so make sure you share this. Make sure you jump in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from, because I promise you will not be disappointed tonight, because it's going down. It is going down. So I'm sharing this with a few people. Make sure you share this with a lot of people. Let them know that we are actually in the building. So one thing that I'm so excited, though, I'm so excited about a lot of things that have been going on. So tonight we got, so June coming up, and I know we had a lot of final graduations today. So I just want to say, hey, congratulations to all the graduates, to the 2021 graduates, all those who graduated high school, all those who graduated college. I'm excited because I'm getting ready to finish the school. I've been in the Command General Staff College. I finished that up. My last day of class is next week. So I'm excited about that. Also, even those who graduated elementary school, those who graduated middle school, hey, congratulations to all of the graduates. So with all that being said and done, I just want to give a shout out to all of the teachers, all the administrators, what they've been enduring this year. And, we getting ready to talk. We getting ready June. We had Mother's Day last month. Shout out to all the mothers. But June's, hey, all the fathers, I want us to stand up. Stand up. Let's represent, baby. Let's represent. I think if God's willing, I think the next few episodes going to be geared towards talking about issues that fathers do and things from a father's or a man perspective. And I think that is something that is key and that is vital. So again, jump in the comments, man. Let me know where you tuning in from. Share this with somebody tonight, because I promise you do not want to miss the show tonight, because tonight's show is going to be a blessing. Not only going to be a blessing, not only that I know it's going to be a blessing, but I think that it's really going to provide some good perspective on some things that has challenged a lot of us in our day-to-day walk, and maybe even give us some nuggets to how to navigate this thing and how to navigate life even a little bit better. So with all of that said and done, man, I want to bring in our special guest today, my man. You know what I'm saying? We go way back to the metropolis, the great metropolis of Greensboro, Alabama, back in Hale County. You know what I'm saying? Walking through the schools, we both matriculated in the high schools of Greensboro East High School. And a lot of respect for my brother, a lot of respect for him. And not only do I just say this right here, but from time to time I send him a note to let him know, because that is very important. So I'm going to bring in Ahmad Perry. So I'm going to bring him in. He's going to come in very soon. And, man, we're going to get this thing going. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
What's going on, Shep? Well, we should say Major Shepherd.
long time coming. But, man, how's everything going with you, man?
I can't complain, man. Everything is good. I'm blessed. Family's doing good. Just had my oldest graduated high school this year. The middle girl's coming out next year. So it's like I'm in a different phase of life right now. Seeing my kids graduate high school is just, it's a blessing.
Yeah, you're getting old, man. You're getting old. Hey, man,
I got a few grades in there somewhere.
Hey, so it's funny, and we're just gonna chat it up a little bit, but it's funny when you get to that age where you start to have to ask people who their mama is to know who they are.
Yeah.
Who your mama?
Yeah.
Who your folks? All right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I've been there for a minute, but congratulations to your daughter, man. I saw the pictures, man. Beautiful young lady, man. I know they're gonna do great things, and I know you're proud, mom proud, and the family proud. That support system is just off the meat rack, and man. So I just want to jump right into it, man. We got Portia tuning in. again, man, once you watch it, man, let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to know what's going on, Portia. She being nice today because I guess my you on.
What's going on, Portia?
But hey, man, so man, I just want to let everybody know. So I was thinking, and just every week I just be in meditation about like, hey, so what are we, what be the subject for the next week? And I challenged myself and I challenged others last week to like just encourage somebody, send a note out to somebody that you see them doing some things, and call them, talk to them, send them a text, just encourage them, tell them, hey, look, I see what you're doing, man. I like it. I like the growth. I like all this, that, and the third. And I was led to do that for you, man. There's some things that I seen you growing, and I seen your walk, your personal walk lately, man. And I just want to send that to you. And in our dialogue, man, you sent something back to me, bro. And when you sent it back to me, it was like a light bulb came out, and you was like, bruh, you was like, man, I had to get my ego out the way. And I was like, oh, I think you was like, yeah, man, I had to stop chasing my ego. And I was like, bro, when you said that, I was like, man, we got to talk about this thing, because man, I really like that really spoke to me. And I felt like, man, I can relate to that, because I can look at my life and seeing how my life has been impacted from chasing my ego.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to start this out, bro. I'm gonna hit some comments and I'm gonna come back to this, because I don't want people to feel like ego is a bad thing.
Right. We'll break it down.
Yeah. So, Miss Geraldine, how you doing? How you doing? Thank you for your continued support. And when I get back, I'm gonna cook for you. So I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna cook for you, Miss Geraldine. Hey, Chandra, what's going on? How you doing? Hey, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. So I want to get to this thing, man. Like a lot of people, we talk about ego, and a lot of times, man, we tend to lean on the negative connotation of things.
Right.
But the ego ain't a bad thing, because we all got one, and it's necessary to have one. So when you said that about, can you expound on that just a little bit about ego and the good of having an ego?
Yeah. So the good part of your ego is it's the energy behind ambition. It's the force behind you trying to do something positive or trying to hit a certain goal. You need your ego for that. You need your ego for progression and production. You need your ego to, for war. We've both been to war, right? You're not trying to die. So you need your ego to get through certain barriers or certain phases of your life. But at some point, you got to let your ego, lay your ego aside. So the good parts about your ego is you need it for production. You need it to have ambition. You needed to hit certain goals. You needed to be successful. But there's a dark side to it as well, and you got to know how to balance the two.
Okay, so would you say that the dark side, the pendulum of ego can be impacted by the intent behind? Because like there's nothing wrong with ambition.
Right.
Like when that ambition becomes at the expense of others, or that's when the ego start to tend in a bad way and become dangerous.
Yeah. And that's, I had to reconcile that thing. And, I just started looking back over my life on certain points in my life where I was making great strides forward. And then I made a few decisions which caused me to take a few steps back. And when I look back, it was all ego, me speaking, saying something that I shouldn't have said, or handling something a certain way that I shouldn't have handled. And it impacts your life through the people that are around you, the people that love you, the people that you love. It could impact, your job, your business, whatever. But if you take a look at it, you can pinpoint exactly where you've gone wrong by, saying something you shouldn't have said. And, you know how some people say, I just got to get it off my chest. I'm that type of person. Like, nah, everything you don't need to get off your chest. Yeah. Some stuff you just need to, just let roll off your chest. You don't need to get everything off your chest. But for me, there have been many cases in my life where I probably should have let a lot of things just slide to the left, but I thought it was challenging who I was. And I'm at the point now where who I am is validated and it can't be challenged. Like I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody anymore. I'm trying to.
Yeah, man. So man, you just hit on something, man, and that made me think. That made me think about, you know, when you start talking about this ego thing, and you talking about the validation. We all desire attaboys.
Mm-hmm.
I
We
don't.
need them.
We need them. I don't care. I don't care what anybody talk about. You can try to act like you all hardcore, this, that, and the third. Right? I don't need nobody on this. No. We all like to hear good job. We all like to hear, hey, man, that's good, man. I see what you're doing. I believe you. Hey, you got that. You can do that. Those encouraging words. Those things are like, you know what I'm saying? Those are things like paramount into us accomplishing the goals and the things that we had. But I made a post earlier today because I've been just thinking, man, and I was like, you know, you calling somebody weak because they refuse to accept your toxic behaviors is not a flex.
Right.
That's just a sign you are unwilling to deal with yourself.
Right.
And you talked about earlier about how your ego got in the way. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times when our egos get bruised, we start looking at other people like they weak, and the problem is always with other people. But we never take the time to check ourselves and be like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Because this is one of the scary things about ego, and I know I'm gonna throw it in you. I'm about to throw you an alley. One of the scary things about ego that nobody really address is our natural gifts can feed it. Yeah. And we can be validated on the job. We can be validated in groups. We can be validated with the positions and still going up what other people may seem successful. But the reality is the infrastructure of our reality is crumbling down because we are really battling chaos on the inside.
Right.
And I know you have spoke about that, but what do you have to say on that one?
Man, that is true. It's true. It could lead to depression. It could lead to self-destructive habits. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I was like, why do you think people just go out to the club all the time and all you're doing at the club is listening to music or drinking? Like why? It's nothing productive that happens in that space when you really think about it. Yeah, you're having a good time. You can have a good time at home. But why do people gather in that one spot, in that space? It's because it gives you a moment to where you ain't got to worry about none of these other things that we're talking about to some degree. Now, in the club, there's ego involved. Like if you got a section, right? The waitress bring the bottles out to the section with the lights and all that stuff and let everybody know you spending money. And everybody else is just standing in the middle, right? So even in that space, you're trying to escape something, but while you're trying to escape, you're flexing on everybody else that's not in the section. Yeah. Right. Everybody is just, you're not like us because we're in this section. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot of times right now, Robert, a lot of things that I sit alone and just think and just reflect on my responses to certain incidents. And what I'm learning is if I just watch things play out, right? Because I've already done certain things to prepare myself for where I am and where I'm going. So all I got to do now is just watch things play out. And I don't have to get too far ahead of myself or worry too much because it's going to happen the same way I planned it out in my mind.
Yeah.
But ego would tell you, oh, you got to get up and grind. You got to get up and hustle. You got to get up. No, you ain't got to do all that.
So I asked a question. One of my songs on my first album, the title of the song is Chasing the Wind. And in the hook of the song, the question was asked was, when do you win when you chasing the wind? And that's what I'm saying. And it's just the same thing like with ego. And the reality is, like, it is so paramount for us to realize that we are feeding our ego. And watch this. And the scary thing about it is we need our ego, but our ego can be so closely tied to pride, bro.
That's why we got to pray.
Yeah.
Without cease.
And then what happens is if we don't have that balance of prayer and that synergy of prayer, what will begin to happen is we will begin to hear things through our ego ears, which is wounded ears, and we would not be able to hear things that are constructive for us.
Right. Right. We're here those insecurities, right?
Yeah.
And when somebody says something to you, you take it a certain way, and then they telling you, no, that's not how I intended it. But because you're wounded and because you're insecure in that area, you're taking it as a direct attack on you. And so the reason that you're taking it as an attack is because you're attacking yourself. Your ego is attacking yourself, like telling you you're not good enough, telling you, you know, everybody else is better than you, telling you didn't do that good enough. You just made a lot of money, but that ain't enough. You need something else. You just bought a car. You need another one. You just bought some clothes. You need some more. All of these things that we do to make ourselves feel worthy and validated. And it's all vanity, man. That's what King Solomon is. It's all vanity.
So how much, and when you just said that, I started to think about certain things, and I see it in the military. I see it outside of the military, especially in the professional realm. I asked a question a few months ago on my page, like last month in May, the beginning of May, about for those that have been in a relationship, a long-term relationship, what led to that breakup or what led to that divorce? What role did you play in that happening? And I was actually surprised by a lot of the responses. I wasn't expecting people to be as transparent as they were. People were transparent, and one of the things that was said was, a good friend of mine was like, "Hey man, I work too much. I prioritize my job over my family." And I said all that because there's a lot of things our ego will have us prioritizing external things and neglecting the things that are there. That are there as far as our foundational things, bro. And we will be in turn get mad at those who call us to accountability for the internal things, but break our backs for everybody that's external. And it's just like, man, you can't see it when you're tied up into it.
I remember my wife used to be like, when I was in the ministry, "Oh, you doing all this for everybody else, but you're not listening to me. Like, you're listening to everybody else's wants and concerns and praying for their needs, but you're not listening to my needs." And I'm like, "Oh, you just hating, you just jealous." But
all right, so I know you're gonna come back in. We're gonna go into some comments real quick. We got Dane Villard said, "Correct. Ego is an automatic deflection mechanism from self." I like that. Can be constructive or destructive. Man, I like that when you said ego is an automatic deflection mechanism from self. Wow. Man, that thing is that is powerful. That's powerful. Can be destructive, constructive, or destructive. The biggest thing we talking about ego, the ego is necessary. Like Ahmad said earlier, like I said, it is necessary to have an ego. But the problem is when that ego start to, when the ego becomes more, when your mentality behind it is more willing to, when your mentality behind it is more willing to use others or do things at the expense of others. When you start neglecting those that are close to you, neglecting those that God has put in your life to be a helper, to help you get to your purpose, to help you get to the things that He created you to do. Those are the things that are dangerous, and we have to be mindful that that we are allowing our ego to really start to become destructive. A lot of things that we do, and if you sit down and think about it, sit down and look at it, a lot of things that we do in terms of ego, because there's nothing wrong with having goals. There's nothing wrong with having dreams. There's nothing wrong with having a plan. There's nothing wrong with accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with promotions. There's nothing wrong with none of that. But the problem is at what expense? At what expense? So I got my man back. We're going to bring him back in. I knew it was going to come back up. Hey, we got you back, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Was that my internet connection?
Man, I don't know, man. It is what it is, but if you can pick up back on, man, I just read the comment of Daniel Bilal when he said, you know, ego is an automatic deflection mechanism from self, and be constructive or destructive.
Yeah. So
I
I was thinking of a time when my wife was telling me that I was so concerned about the prayers and the needs of others, and I wasn't really listening to, you know, her needs or the needs of our home. And, you know, to that comment that Vlad just made, that was a neutral statement, right? Now the ball was in my court once she made it known. I could amplify it and blow it out of proportion, which I did, or I can say, you know what? How can I do this better? What am I neglecting from you? What can I do to make that situation better? And because I didn't take the latter route, you know, we went down a certain route that we went, you know, and it caused years and years and years and years of getting back to the space that we're in now. But, you know, to have that experience and go through it, it's a beautiful thing. A lot of people are not able to make it through that, you know. Prayers out to them, but we've been able to maintain that co-parenting space, and, you know, the space where we are now with reconciling our relationship, and, you know, that everybody's happy. It's a beautiful space.
Well, and it's really about growth, man. So like, that's why I said it's a dangerous thing when you have ego and pride to get together, because what it does is ego would just, and pride together is like a Molotov cocktail, bro. Like, you know, like it'll get you to the place where you know what you're supposed to do. And this is where the dangers of it. This is where the dangers, I'm talking about chasing the vanity of your ego. Your ego will have you, and I'm just use relationships for instance. You know what your significant other need from you. You have the ability to do it. But when you got that ego and that pride that mix together, you just be like, I'm just not gonna do it. And there's nothing worse than having the ability to do something and not do
it.
I can deal with you don't have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
But if you have the ability to do it, and not only you have the ability to do it, you choose not to do it for me, but you do it for other people. And bruh, like, and that's what's really just being communicated to you. But when that pride and that ego step in, you heard through them hurt ears and like, bro, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And then you start trying to justify it.
You're right.
God, and this is what
you just jealous.
Yeah, man. Sandra said pride comes before a fall. Yeah, but how? Like, but with that, and I want to jump on that for a little bit. Pride, we all know that. It's not like we don't know pride comes before a fall, but why we keep falling? Why we keep allowing pride and that ego to make us fall, bro?
Because we don't listen to the warning signs. It's like our life gives you a warning sign, right? So you have, just like on your job, you have, you know, things that you have to hit, milestones that you have to hit to get that promotion, right? And you know where you got to be by a certain time to get that promotion. It's the same thing in your relationship. Like, that person is telling you or communicating with you, hopefully, or you feel the way stuff is going, if you're on a good path or not. But we don't pay attention to it. We just stay on that. It's selfish, man. We stay in that one track mind. We're looking for what we can get out of the situation instead of what does the situation need for everybody that's in it. Give you another example, right?
Yeah.
So moving my family back to Atlanta, and in my kitchen, man, I got like all white plates, white bowls, what have you. So, I told Chandra, don't bring no white. I said, throw all your plates away. Just throw everything away. I got, you know, stuff in the kitchen. And she sends me a text with the kids. It's a group text. And my daughter is asking me, hey, mom, it's like, should we bring this? I was like, nah, throw it away. She was like, well, it's going to be more people living in the house besides him. So why are we asking him about these plates? You know what I mean? In that moment, I could be like, I don't like that color plate, blah, 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 blah. That would have been my ego. but those plates meant something to her.
Yeah,
and then
in that, is it really that big of a deal?
It's not that big of a deal. But
Bro,
look, back in my 20s,
but that's what I'm saying.
I would have made that I would have made that a deal. I would have made that an issue. But it's those small things, little small stuff like that, over and over and over and over again, that grows into a big explosion. Like, relationships just don't go bad over one conversation. Relationships go bad over those small conversations that's built up over time. And people just get tired of dealing with it because somebody in the relationship is not listening.
So I'm gonna use this analogy, and I'm gonna get to Kevin's comment. I used to say this every week, when a new class come in when I was a company commander. I'm getting sometimes say 20 upward to 60 or 80 soldiers come in. One of the things that I said was, hey, you guys have to be able to identify the difference between a preference and an issue. And I like to use the analogy of tissue. Me, I prefer tissue to come underneath.
Oh, not over?
Not over. I like mine to come underneath.
Okay.
Because this is me. When I like it underneath, if I snatch on it, it won't just keep rolling like it do over top. But that's just my preference. Right? So I'm just saying it's a preference, right?
Yeah.
Some people may like it to come over top. So, my wife like it to come over the top. Now, some people are so full. I'm talking about with this ego and just this pride, and everybody like, oh, this small, but I'm talking about this how stuff happens and blows up.
Right.
They go in the bathroom and they get angry. Their whole countenance is up, like changed, because the tissue is not the way that they like it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not an issue, because the issue is if they didn't have any tissue, that would be the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting mad and extending energy over a preference. And that's what I talk about. That pride and that ego, man, will have you wasting so much time. And as we talk about the vanity of chasing advantage of your ego, you mad and just all amped up over a roll of tissue, bro.
Yeah.
Over a seat being left up.
Yeah.
Over if you I'm just saying, if you rinse the cup out or not. Like, is it really that serious? I get it. It may have been a big deal. You may have differences in how you grew up. But when you sit down and look at it, is that really worth you going through heartache and pain, or going through all of these divisive steps? Is it really that big of a deal?
It's not.
So Kevin said, so many times we turn little comments into a large issue because we feel hurt by the statement, or our pride or ego gets involved. It is easier to attack the person making the statement versus taking the statement and looking at ourselves in the mirror to see if the statement is accurate and adjusting ourselves accordingly. Man, that takes some maturity. I'm gonna tell you that right now, Kevin. We the same age, my brother. They don't come. Hey, when you rocking in them 20s, bro, you rocking young. Hey, bro, you like, man, no, man. I don't know about that, because you just ain't gonna. I'm grown. You ain't gonna just talk to me like that. You see, all this stuff, man.
Yeah. But what does that even mean?
But that's what I'm like. Think about this, and I ask my son this, I ask my kids this all the time, and like when they get amped up. Think about how much effort you put into figuring out what clothes you was gonna wear to school when we was going to Greensboro. Just on the day, like, oh man, I got to wear this and I got to wear this. Bro, you ain't thought about that 6 months after you graduated.
Right.
At all. But it was a big deal. But that stuff, think about all of the things that was a big deal before that's not a big deal now. And if we put those things in perspective, that's because life gives us experience. Experience started looking back on things and started be like, man, that's when I can start understanding what Saul was talking about. Solomon was talking about when he's talking about vanity. It's all vanity, bro.
We do stuff to impress other people. So So sometimes some of that carries over into your adult life. Like, all right, let me get this car to see how they respond, or let me wear these clothes. Let me buy this Gucci to see how they respond. And at the end of the day, it's like you're buying that to impress yourself.
Yeah.
More than it is to impress somebody else, because like you see that stuff all the time. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just an item. But sometimes you can be so fixated on getting that item because it makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And when you can walk away from that stuff, like literally, when it doesn't mean anything to your identity, that's when you can have all that stuff with ease.
So that's a powerful statement right there, bro. I mean, so getting to where like you're not identifying your self-worth by your achievements. So like what you said earlier, major, right? And I can honestly say that I've been in the Army 21 years. This is my 11th promotion since I've joined the military. I'm a major. Majors, I mean, you're 04. You're not no big wig, but I looked at the accomplishment of, I mean, not too many people say they've been promoted 11 times in the military. But with that said, bro, it's not about that to me. What it's about is I'm in a position where I can do what I'm continue to do, what I love and I have a passion to do, is that's to help people, serve people. I'm in a different capacity in which I can serve. And that's how I look at it. I don't look at it like, oh, well, this, that, and the third, or man, I don't, bro. I like even in ministry, I didn't care that I was a youth pastor or care I had a title of a minister or whatever. I still can clean the bathroom, sweep, take the trash out. Like I never had that mindset. But a lot of times people get those mindsets because it's something in them that they refuse to deal with. And that's why I've been talking about healing on this show pretty much since the Genesis. And a lot of that goes back to that, man. Like what you said earlier. Like, why all of these external things? Why you got to get all these toys to be validated? You know, people like, oh man, I got all these pair of Jordans. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all about a person's self-worth or your self-worth, right? Yeah. So at first I did this stuff because I felt worthless, right? The achievements were because I felt less than, right? So that's how I started off. And then, you know, the achievement keeps happening. It's like, why does it even matter? So you lose the achievement, right? And then you're like, well, I didn't mean to lose what I worked to get. You get it back, but you get it back that second time with a different awareness of these achievements are for me to serve other people. Yes, I'm going to serve my family, and serve my children, my spouse, or what have you. But then I'm going to serve the community as well, as far as I can, right? For as much as I can with the resources that I have. I think if you're leading, or if you're trying to get something and that priority is out of whack, you're only going to have it for a short period of time.
Yeah,
it's not going to be sustainable, or you're going to self-destruct when you get it. So that's how you see these crazy addictions where people get involved with different types of drugs. Like I can literally see how people get addicted to cocaine because they're looking for that high, because they really don't have a purpose for having the resources that they have. And so that's when that ego is out of balance and you see the person crash and burn.
So man, you said something earlier, like, and it took my mind to thinking about this. I can recall, and man, I would tell you in 2007 was the worst year of my life. Like 2006, 2007, I was on a deployment. 2007, going through a divorce. 2007, 2008. Well, 2006 to 2008 were like the lowest I've ever been in my life. And having to walk through that, one thing that showed me was everything that and I wouldn't say I had a big ego, or you know what I'm saying, but I realized like nothing. I lost everything, bro. Like and it took me about a good 3 years to find synergy again, because my vision was blurred through the bruising of my ego, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like those are things like when I tell people like this timeline, like I still moved on and things, but there was still some stuff from an ego standpoint that I was very vulnerable to a lot of things, that I made some irrational decisions during those times because my ego was bruised and I couldn't see clearly. So what is some of your experience? Like, do you have a similar experience? I know you do, but I just wanted to ask you that question.
My ego is large, bro. Like here I have a massive ego, right? I have this massive appetite for winning.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Regardless. Now, in the midst of me winning, or in the midst of that process, is the tricky part for me, right? And I have to make sure that people who are around me are aware, and I have to make sure that I'm aware how I'm impacting the people who are around me. Because when I go into that zone, don't nothing matter but the mission of that milestone I'm trying to hit, right? So, even this year, man, like I've had to get off Facebook for a month or two because stuff was happening so fast. And when stuff started happening fast, like people start calling, everybody started calling. I used to put my phone on do not disturb. Just don't pick it up. Because that demand grows. So you got to be ready for that. Like, especially if you're in the public light, if you serving in the public. But yeah, I have a massive ego, man. And sometimes momentarily that it'll burn a few people, but I'll apologize.
But I would tell you though, like, and I don't see that as a bad thing. And this is, and I think a lot of people, I have a dog in me, man. Like a dog. Like, you're not gonna tell me no. It's just that's, I'm gonna find a way to yes. Right. I am one of the most easiest people to collaborate with, but what I have zero patience for is mediocrity.
Right.
And complacency and mediocrity. Like, I have patience. I have a large amount of patience for if you have the willingness and not the ability, I can still work with you. But when you have the ability and not the willingness, brother, it's going to be some problems.
Yeah.
So I have a very strong tone.
Yeah.
A very authoritative presence.
Your command voice.
that is oftentimes misunderstood as aggression. And I had to realize, like a lot of things, like, bro, like, hey, why your voice elevated? I'm like, yeah, but I ain't mad. Like, no, it sounds like you are. I'm telling you, I'm not mad, because if I was mad, you would know. But I said all of that because that is part of who you are, and that's part of what God has for you to accomplish. So, and I say this, everybody's not going to line up with it. Everybody's not going to agree with it. But I said this today, and I made this post, and this is going to speak to it. I made this post earlier today. I said, even though they are both birds, an eagle would never debate a chicken on how to fly and soar in the clouds.
Right. And so
that's what I'm saying is, because you have the ego of an eagle and somebody may have the ego of a chicken. I'm not saying one is greater than the other.
Yeah.
Both have different experience, both serve different purposes. That's when those will start to cast judgment because they lack understanding. So and that's why I dropped that today, because everything ain't on the same level. Everybody's not going to be on the same level.
in dealing with the judgment, right, or dealing with the rocks that are thrown at you while you're moving, you gotta learn how to catch some of them.
Yeah.
You know, instead of throwing the rock back, because throwing the rock back takes energy.
Yeah.
Getting involved in a long, drawn out debate takes a lot of energy, and it can be detrimental to you. You can ruin relationships. You can say something you don't mean to say. So if it's not impacting my immediate sphere of influence, like the people that are depending on me, like right now, like the decisions I'm about to make right now, you got to block a lot of stuff out. You got to, not take a lot of calls. You got to create that space for yourself too, because that's why I think Jesus prayed a lot by himself.
Mm-hmm.
He spent a lot of time away from the crowd. And that's what I'm learning to do, spend a lot of time away from the crowd. Because when you're always in front of the crowd, you're a target. You're always open for criticism or judgment. When you spend time away from the crowd, they don't really know what you got going on. They don't know what you're doing.
But I think it's also necessary for people to know what is actually going on too. Like I always say, bro, like I'm proud of you, man. Like for real, I got a lot of admiration for you.
Thank you.
Because I see the things that you accomplish. I see the things that you're doing. And it's good to see people you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like good to see people you know. And it's so important that people see it, man. Like really see that people that came from where you came from are accomplishing these things here and are doing these things. Like I'm saying, man, like Eugene, man. Eugene killing it, man. He's still killing it. Every time I turn around, this dude got another contract.
Yeah.
Doing different things. Some other classmates of mine, Mia Patrick, Bradbury, been trying to get her on this show. She killing it, man. Like Frederick Ward. Like I'm talking about all these my classmates, and I'm seeing them big things, and I'm seeing them grinding, and I'm seeing them going out to get it. And I want people that came from where we came from can see that, to see you, to see all these other people and be like, man, they came from the same places I came from.
Yeah.
And then that will help build their ego up to where it will motivate them to be like, you know what, I can do it.
Yeah. If you want to.
If I want to, and I'm willing to put that work in.
Yeah, if you want to, you can definitely do it. But I just think, man, it's funny. Country roads back home, and then like last night I was upstairs on the top of the building, like looking at the whole city.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm saying to myself, like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't post anything to brag. I'm posting stuff because I'm still realizing the dream, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like, wow. And then my mind, see, here's the ego. My mind says, what's next? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, it's imbalance. And the only reason I'm saying what's next, because I know life is not over. I know there's a lot more that I want to do for myself, my family, and the community. But how big is it going to be? It's like, that's always the next question in my mind. And I have to be careful because you don't want to be, my mom used to tell me, don't be too heavily focused to where you're no earthly good.
Yeah.
Meaning, don't always be looking for the next thing when you can enjoy the stuff that you have in your presence. And that's a practice that I try to practice every day, just remaining present, staying in the moment.
Yeah. So because, today is what they call it the present. Like a present. It's a gift. Enjoy the gift. Learn from yesterday. Enjoy the present from today, and just prepare for tomorrow. But don't prepare so much for tomorrow that you're not enjoying the gift that you have from the day.
Absolutely.
Dane Villar, who's my former platoon sergeant, said many conflicts can be avoided if both sides come down and put their ego in check. Now, I want to discuss that a little bit. Talking about putting egos in check, right?
Yeah.
If egos is necessary, and everybody has one, where does it? What are some of the signs where you can start looking in the mirror and being like, wait a minute, I'm starting to get borderline, bad with my ego. My ego is starting to get borderline destructive.
Like one sign is for me, right? If I feel like if somebody says something to me and I'm always saying something back, like I always have something to say back.
Feel like you always have to defend yourself?
Or just offering an alternative thought.
Gotcha.
Like, maybe this person don't need my opinion right now. Let me just let that one slide.
Yeah.
And I just, sit back and chill. Or if it's defending yourself. If you're finding yourself defending yourself too much, I think you're kind of out of balance at that time. Again, those are those warning signs that we get that we may not be paying attention to because there is no curriculum or no guidebook to say, oh, your ego is high right now. Your ego is getting out of balance right now. So you kind of got to be self-aware.
Yeah.
And know how you relate to the environments that you're in. And that's a huge thing too, self-awareness. Many of us lack it.
Well, I think the lack of self-awareness too is we want things our way. Like it this is how, like, and I've been talking about this, and I made a post about a week ago about how do you know how selfish you are? It's when you find yourself irritated because you're not getting your way.
And you can be selfish with God too.
Oh, what, boy? Listen.
That's how you know how selfish you are. Like, you think something is not moving when you think it should move, or happen when you think it should happen. Ego out of balance.
Man, look, that's why I said 2006 and 2008. Those 2 years, one of the things that really, when I'm talking about my ego, bro, I was angry at God, man. I was angry at God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about somebody that's a licensed minister, still serving, still going to church, still serving in ministry. And I'm angry at God because I'm like, why would you let all of this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And every time I ask why, the Holy Spirit be like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I didn't want to hear that. That ain't what I wanted to hear. So, no, y'all need to adjust. That ain't what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me looking back on it years later, I'm grateful that I went through that experience. Because if I never went through that experience, I couldn't talk to nobody about forgiveness. I couldn't have these conversations about healing. I couldn't have these conversations about ministering to people that's dealing with depression, that's dealing with anxiety, that's dealing with suicidal ideations. You see, I couldn't have that because I didn't have that before. Growing up, man, I had a good life, bro. I ain't had no worries, you know what I'm saying? I ain't had no quote unquote hardships. I didn't grow up, I'm not trying to be, I didn't grow up in the struggle. You know what I'm saying? I had a roof over my head. I had food to eat every night. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have a lot, but I got a car at 16. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we stayed in the country, but I didn't have a hard life.
Yeah.
So when I went through that, bro, I was like, man, like, what's the deal? And man, I realized later, like, through that experience, it was all part of God's purpose to get me to this place where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But I went through 2 years, bro, of that ego just being bruised and angry at God and mad because I ain't get what I wanted.
Hey, it's gonna be another phase you go through it.
Yep.
The key is to remember.
Yep.
The last time we was in this situation, like you're gonna get through it. For me, I had to remember, all right, the last time I was in this situation, here's what caused it. I'll get through it. And it don't always show up exactly the same all the time. So that's one way I think we miss it too, when our egos are out of balance. But God has never failed us, man. He'll never fail us. And I think it's more of surrendering to what's happening instead of trying to force something to happen.
But that's hard though. And I want to, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the reality is that is not easy, man. Like, we talk a lot of things and I get it, but bro, that wasn't easy for me. That's why it took me like 2 years. This is something I'm talking about somebody serving God, like ain't missing church. I'm talking about going hard in the paint for him.
Yeah.
Bro, that was hard, bro. Like, and I'm not, and I want people to understand that, man, because I think too many times we just be like, oh, just trust God. I get it, but what that look like?
It looks like, you know, the activities that you do today, if it don't yield the fruit that you're looking for, you got to trust that the activity that you put in is going to yield at some point. And that's the part where I mean by surrendering. Like, we don't control the timing. I have to tell myself that all the time. Like, I don't control the timing. Chandra tells me that too. You think things are supposed to happen when you say it. And it, man, that you're talking about something that burns. That right there,
So
that burns.
So I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm gonna let you answer, and I'm gonna get to Valencia comments. But do you think now? And me and you never talked about this.
Okay.
We got very similar paths, bro.
Yeah.
Both left high school, joined the military, excel in the military. Everything was going fast. Accepted our calling, young man in the ministry, working hard. God doing a lot of things. It's just popping like boom, 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 boom. So our mindset was like, it's always like that.
Yeah.
So for someone to tell you that, you're like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? This is how it's supposed to happen. Yeah. And God was like, slow down there, Tito.
Yeah. or you get in there like this, like, I'm the man. You're supposed to listen.
Yeah. Oh, but bro.
It's like, no, she got an opinion too. Like, and her opinion is just as valid.
Man.
Her opinion is just as valid. And it might be more valid than yours. You know what I mean? Like,
man, look. So I'm for this. So with that, this is where the dangers of egos come in relationships. You're not gonna always agree.
Right.
Most of the time, you're not gonna agree. The key is having the understanding that just because I disagree, that does not mean I dismiss or devalue your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if ego's involved, that's what I hear. I disagree. Oh, no, you devalue. No, I'm not devaluing. I just don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it having that, like not hearing from those wounded ears is key. Valencia said, what wisdom, what did you learn in a situation? What did you learn about you? And then she go on and said, did you grow? Did it make you better? Listen, when your ego involved, you ain't trying to get better, bro. You're trying to win. And that's why I said the danger of it, because it comes at the expense of others. So you start destroying the relationships with those close to you that God put in your life to enhance you, but you start destroying those because they're ego in the way. Go ahead, man. I know you got
the danger of chasing vanity and ego, right, is when you are growing, you don't know that you have grown until maybe a year or two has passed. And now some of those situations are coming back around, and now it's like a test. That same situation that gets under your skin real good, it's a test to see how you're going to respond to it this time. And then that's how you know, you're like, oh man, I think I've grown, because if that had hit me back in my 20s, I would have just popped off on that. But the danger of it is that time is going to go by. Somebody else was involved with you in that situation. Somebody may have been scarred. Now, you're only responsible for your healing, but you're also responsible for letting that person that you was involved with let you know that, hey, maybe my ego was a little bit out of balance during that time. I apologize.
So Man, this I just had this question. How much do you think your trauma contributes to the size of your ego?
Oh man, that's a good question. So my trauma created my ego.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I'll go as far as to say, and I don't know if there's any data to prove it. Like your ego is probably the size of the depth of your trauma.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that when I look at extremely successful people, I immediately look for the pain of that success. Because that's what a lot of people overlook. They don't see the part that hurts. They just see the shiny object,
Mm-hmm.
the accolades. I go back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or in the military, to score a perfect physical fitness test, to be perfect in every category, man, you got to be at tip-top shape.
Tip.
Right? Your push-ups got to be perfect. Your sit-ups got to be perfect. And then you got to run that 2 mile, probably 12 minutes or less.
Hey, they just switched it up, bro. It's 6 events now.
Even worse. I'm glad I ain't in the military. You know what I'm saying? But the pain, I remember, Robert, I used to run my 2 miles like 12 minutes, right? And everybody like, man, you running fast. What they didn't understand or feel within I was hurting while I was running. Like to push my body like that. Or when I was in the Marine Corps running the 3 mile, 18-minute flats, man, it hurt to run like that. But the time looked good. I feel like it's the same with your life. Like it hurts when your ego is out of whack, right? Your environment is gonna respond to you. But the endurance that you gain going through that, man, is something I wouldn't trade it.
So, man, man, we got some good comments, man. Travis said, "Our experience comes from the decisions we make." Facts. Facts. Yeah. Daniel said, "A good mentor recognizes when someone's ego is out of balance. The problem is, does the mentee have the mental capacity to accept, trust, and take heed to the words that the mentor is saying?" And Valencia is talking about what we said earlier. Just because it's not logical to you doesn't mean her emotions aren't valid. Facts. Like, and that is so hard. Like, that is so hard because we got our emotions involved. We got this pride thing involved, this ego involved. And like, we have to remind ourselves they're not the enemy.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, it becomes hard it becomes hard when there are not the actions behind to show that person has your best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. You got to be prayerful, man. Especially when you're talking about relationships or business or on your job or what have you. You got to be prayerful of being able to discern the intentions of people, because people can be sleeping in the bed with you and they don't have your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's dangerous to make the assumptions for other people's intentions. I'm about to say this. Okay, here we go. It is dangerous to make the assumptions of others' intentions based off of the trauma of your past.
Yeah.
And not the reality of your present.
Yes.
And I think that went over a lot of people's head, bro.
Because a lot of times people are responding from the trauma. So you asked about did the trauma create the ego? And I would have to say, yeah. And so you show up to a situation with that huge ego based off of the trauma. And that person could be, you know, genuine, authentic with you.
Yeah.
But you're responding out of trauma. So everything is a trigger.
Yep.
Everything they say is a trigger, and now you quarreling all the time. It's like,
and then you just had to get there and be like, you know, like, and you start acting like, what's going on, and like that's where it's like, okay, we got to take inventory, bro, and be like, okay, why am I always triggered?
mm-hmm.
Like, why I can't pull myself from this situation and look at it and be like, okay, what is like, what role am I playing in this?
Yeah.
And that's hard to do when we don't want to deal with ourselves, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to do when you run away from yourself, bro. Hey, man, I'll tell you, man, on my new project, man, shameless plug, my new project coming out called The Conversation, man. I got a song on there called Mirror Mirror. And talking about, it's a dope concept, but the concept on it really is just, it starts off somebody responding how they see themselves in the mirror. Then it comes back, the mirror telling them who they really are, the reflection of who they are. Then it comes back and the word of God telling them who they are.
Oh, wow.
And like, when you just look at that, man, like that's what really, like, we need that candor, like that candid feedback.
Yeah.
We need that candid feedback. Hey, so we got some more comments. I know Chandra said a lot talking about how excuse me, how much your ego is tied to your trauma. Xavier, he's talking about, hey brother, ACFT.
You're dead.
Hey, the ACFT. Hey, bro, it's real deal at Holyfield. Man, Valencia been dropping some straight nuggets today. She said, I heard someone say that ego is edging, pushing God out. The more ego you have, the less room you give God. And like, man, so, and that made me realize some things, man. I preached a sermon like 2 weeks ago, and I talked about Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read start on the 37th chapter of Genesis, and all the times I read, I never really paid attention until I was in preparation for this message. But the 37th chapter of Genesis starts off talking about Joseph, but it starts off saying Joseph was snitching on his brothers. They say he went to his father, you know what I'm saying, to bring him a bad report about his brothers. Then he goes and talks about how he, you know, Joseph had a dream, and then he started talking about how his brothers are gonna bow down to him. And it also talked about how Joseph was his father's favorite child because he was a child of, he was born in his old age. So you look at those dynamics. Joseph had an ego problem, bro.
You're talking too much.
I'm just saying, and I started to realize for the calling and the purpose that God had on Joseph's life, God knew that he had to get rid of that ego, which people be like, oh, he was sold into slavery. But watch this, everywhere he went, he had favor.
Right.
In Potiphar's house, he had favor. Second in charge of Potiphar's house. When Potiphar's wife tried to get him the cakes, and he didn't want the cakes. You know?
She was shooting her shot.
She shot her shot, and he was like, "Mom, I can't do that." He went to jail, but then he was put in charge of the jail. Basically, he was able to operate in his gifting. But and the thing that stood out to me, bro, in that story was after he interpreted the dream of the cupbearer and the baker, he still had a woe is me. Amen. When you get restored, remember me. And at the end, I think it was chapter 40, it said that, and the baker forgot about Joseph. And then you go in verse 41, like the first verse, it said 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream. And then you go on down a few verses later, it said that's when the armor bearer remembered. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, because he didn't finish his process. To be elevated, because if he hadn't been healed and hadn't dealt with all that stuff, he would have had his brothers killed. Then the children of Israel wouldn't have been able to come to Egypt and all that stuff. So
he was expecting it to come from certain people. You know what I mean? He was expecting it to come from certain people, and he had to be patient enough for another person to have another person with more influence to have the same need. But his gift was always there. Our
Yeah.
gifts are always with us. Our natural ability to, perform has always been there. And I'm sure you can go through countless occasions where you thought a particular person was going to look out for you and they did not. Or you thought particular people were going to support you and they did. And it came from a stranger who had a need and influence that could bless you. That's, I can resonate with the story of Joseph, but I feel that deep.
Man, I can tell you, I want to share this real quick. 2002, went to Korea. That's when God showed me I had a gift for songwriting. I always did music back in school, whatever, right? But like just writing songs, composing and writing songs. I did music, writing, all that stuff. I played piano, did all that in school, but I never really just put a song together, especially like a gospel song or just a concept would come to me like that. While I was in Korea in 2002, it was like, boom, God showed me I had that gift. So that whole year I was ministering music, writing songs, directing, giving parts and doing minister music, all of this stuff over the vocals, everything, bro. It was just like going crazy on this high horse. Then I get orders to come to Fort Riley. I get the orders to come to Kansas. I come to Kansas. God spoke to me about going to this church, and this church that I went to, they had Ramdu, my homeboy, like my ace. I've been enjoying being back in Kansas because we've been able to hook up over all these years. And he had just started playing piano, like within the last year and a half. Now, at that time, I had been playing for like 11 years. I got all this experience. And now, God, you want me to sit under him and with him being a minister of music? You want me to humble myself and go to choir rehearsal, and even though I have the ability to offer, set up, and support? Bro, I had to eat some crow, man. But one thing I realized was God said, I need you to build him. Now, man, he's a beast, man. My man's a beast, play 10 times better than I play. But I realized in that, man, I got so much gratification about checking my ego, because it wasn't about me. It was about service. It was about honoring God. And you spoke about that earlier about balance, man. That balance comes when your priorities are in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're not chasing.
When you're not chasing. When you're not chasing. And the fulfillment from service, bro. Like if everything you're doing is about self-consumption, but you out of order. You all ego. No, I mean that's straight ego. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And you can package it up however you want to package it up.
People will feel it.
I'm doing this so that I can do this and I can do that. No, you're doing that because of you.
You.
You're neglecting your family. You're neglecting your spouses. You're neglecting not only your wife, your kids, your husband, but you're neglecting your parents. You're neglecting a relationship with your siblings. And then when they die, now you living in regret because you weren't there and you had the opportunity to be there.
Yeah.
So man,
I like Anthony's comments down there.
He said it's funny how God, that's my cousin Ant up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
He said it's funny how God can deflate your ego so he can use you to do anything he needs. Man, when I say inflate, it wasn't even like a pen. It was it was a double barrel shotgun deflate.
Put you on, take all the air out of the ball.
But I appreciate it though, and I learned in that. But just like what you said, that was just in one area. What about other areas? And I'm appreciative of that. And bro, I'm appreciative of you for even just bringing this up and really being transparent. You know, like I told you before, like seeing the journey of restoration that I see you walking right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that is so encouraging to me because I see God's hand all in that, but I also see the growth in both of you guys to get to that point.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And it was unexpected, man. Neither one of us expected it. Kind of played with the idea, but it was unexpected. But at the end of the day, like, I think family is bigger than the people that are involved in the family. Like think about your dad. Like, the stuff that he did in his life was bigger than he probably wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like,
man, next month, my dad will be dead, have been passed away 8 years ago. I'm still finding out stuff he did for people.
Yeah.
Today that I never knew about. Like he just never talked about it, never mentioned.
Yeah. So in the space that I'm in now is like, I don't know what my kids will say about me, you know, after I'm gone. But I got time right now to try to make sure that they say something positive. And so that's the goal. Will life be perfect? Absolutely not. I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm aiming to show that I've always worked to try to sustain my family. You know, have I always made the right decisions? No. Am I gonna always make the right decisions for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, the Perrys, like, you're gonna know, you know, I fought for my family. Yeah. So that's my goal. Because we can't be successful in business.
I know we did it again, but I know he was saying you can't be successful in business, you can't be successful in life, and you can focus all your efforts on the external things, but if your priority is not your family first, it's all futile. And I thank you guys, man. I really thank you guys for, and I know he's coming back in now, but I thank you guys for tuning in and joining this conversation, because, you know, it is very vital to have this conversation, because guess what? We all got egos. So go ahead, man. I just jumped in on where you fell off at, but
oh no, you summed it up. I mean, I was just saying you can't be successful in business or in a community or in ministry and then you neglect your family. And you know, throughout the years, I've always tried to make sure my family knew that. Like, that's one of the things I would say with my kids all the time. Like, the Perrys are forever.
Yeah,
shoot them the message. The Perrys are forever. And so you gotta live up to that mantra. You gotta show them what that means, because they watching.
Yeah,
you know.
And then not only watching, I know this is not. Yeah, this goes in the ego too. Parents, be transparent with your kids, man. Mm-hmm. Especially when they get older, man. Like, let them know you had struggles. Like, because man, we as a community, bro, we don't be honest with our kids, man. We just throw them to the wolves and we don't tell them the realities of life. Like, hey, this is what it is. This is what this looked like. Hey, don't be afraid to fail, because guess what? I done messed this up, did this, and did that. And we just throw them out there, hope they figure it out. Bro, that's not good, man. And that all goes in the ego, because we don't want our kids to see who we really are. But they already know it. They already know it. So just tell them, man.
They're gonna find out and then come back and tell you, like, yo, why you ain't telling me this? You know,
it lifts so much weight off their shoulders. The only regret that I had as far as when it came to my father was we didn't have a lot of one-on-one man conversations, because I made the stupid assumption that because I already know my dad to be a pastor and a preacher, that he wouldn't understand everything. But not realize my dad was a man. Like, and I'm just saying, like, hey, you know, like, I'm being, man, I'm finna be, hey, Dad, did you ever think about cheating on mama?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm just saying, this is conversation that need to happen, because guess what? Everybody have those thoughts. Everybody go through those things. And when you realize you're not the only one that's having them, Now it makes you feel like, okay, all right, now I can better navigate this thing.
Yeah.
I have a point of reference where I can navigate. And I think like we just I don't know, man. Just from my observation, we just
want to show up to be perfect. We're not perfect, man. No one family is perfect. No one person at all. And so the ego wants you to project that picture of perfection. That does not exist. Actually, the perfection is accepting the good stuff. I made this post maybe a week ago. Accepting your light and your darkness. Like, that's perfection. Not trying to hide the darkness of who you are. Because if you're trying to hide the darkness and then you have a bad day, would you expect everybody to give you grace? Because you're walking around acting perfect. So I don't do that with my family. I don't do that with the public. Like, I'm a human being. Don't push the wrong button, because I will push back. But before I push back, I'm gonna warn you. You're gonna get a warning. But I think we should be a lot more transparent, man. I don't know if social media has pushed us to that space of trying to show perfection all the time, but we got to do it to help each other.
Man,
so this conversation is definitely needed. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that we had it. Like I tell people all the time, man. I'm petty, man. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I'm petty, and I'm petty. I'm petty like Michael Jackson petty. I saw a meme of Michael Jackson that said 2005, Eminem made a diss track. So Michael Jackson didn't say anything. He just went and bought all his catalogs.
He bought his catalog.
So every time he performed, he got paid for it. Like, I'm that's my type of petty. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? You got to be able to manage yourself and not put yourself in those situations. We're gonna get through some comments. My cousin said, just because pastors, preachers preach God's word doesn't mean he doesn't have feelings. He can teach you the things. Yeah. Yeah, he can teach some things, and I realize that. So now I try to have conversations, with my kids on a level where, they realize, like, I know where they at, and if they ever need it, they never want to have conversations. It is there, and the opportunity is there. And then Daniel said, man-to-man conversations are critical, even when a father is absent. Man, I would tell you, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, woman to man. Like, we got to have those conversations. Like, for real. Like, and I'm saying this, man, and we're gonna close out, but like, mom and dad, why did y'all break up?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being unlike, or what led to this? What are some things that led, like, and have those conversations? Because when we don't, assumptions come in. And those assumptions fill the gap, and we don't want those things to fill the gap, because that can lead to more trauma. So I would rather give them the truth, so they won't have to carry the burden of that trauma for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And then they don't go around blaming themselves.
Right.
So that's a whole nother thing, right?
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. But man, hey, thank you again, man. I appreciate it, brother. I'm gonna have you back, man. I'm gonna have you back, but thank you for birthing this, the thought with this conversation, because this came from you. When I heard it, man, I appreciate you tuning in. Man, anything you want to part ways, man, let people know about your book, man, everything that you're going on. I know you ain't about that, but let them know what they can do, what they can get from you, what you have to offer.
Yeah, so I published a book called The Only Way Out. You can get that at theonlywayoutour.com. Have a trading academy as well. Well, we've taught people how to leverage the markets through the pandemic, and the group has realized over $400,000 in profit. So extremely excited about that. I got a project coming out too, man.
Always working, man. Always working.
Yeah, we got a project coming out. I'll reveal the name a little later. Okay. But it's definitely going to be around, reconciling relationships and that whole space right there.
Man, listen, thank you so much. Again, man, I got a project, my album, second album, coming out, The Conversation. I got that will be coming out around August time frame. So I'm in the final. I got pretty much all my songs done. I'll be hitting up the studio again next week. I think this project is going to be one that is going to take you on a musical journey, but not so much on a musical journey. It's going to be a lot of relevant topics.
Okay.
That people want to have and people need to have, especially about the body of Christ. About the body of Christ. So, yeah, it may piss some people off, but it is what it is, bro. I'm gonna speak to you that night. Got this one, hit this up at Xavier. He said, "Yeah, man, I need to get back on my grind with you, Ahmad." So he said, you know, he want to get back with you. And you see how God works. Me and Xavier connected back in Germany. Now I know you and him connected too. So that's how this thing works. So hey, everybody, thank you guys so much. Make sure you send this to somebody. Make sure you send it to somebody. Let them know, you know, what we talked about. And if this helped you in any way, hey, man, DM myself, DM Ahmad, let us know. It's just real good to hear the feedback. We're going to keep this thing going. Thank you guys for tuning in to the conversation. God bless.